glad we got that done. I'm glad you got to hear it. We bring back Ian Bremmer right now. You know, the stories that he's been telling us, you know, this is not a politician. This is not a journalist. This is a healer. Maggots, losing all these people, no water, hasn't bathed for days. You know, this is bad politics. This is bad reality.
It's a horrible story. I mean, I saw Secretary of State Blinken talk about the victims in a quick video earlier today. And I was wondering before I opened it up if he was talking about the Israelis or the Palestinians. There are, of course, Israeli victims from October 7th, and it's horrible. And there are still hostages that are being held in Gaza. It's unacceptable, and everyone's calling for them to be released. But there are also victims among the Palestinians in Gaza, and there are a lot of them. There are millions of them. And the rest of the world sees this every day. And the Americans increasingly see this as well. And we cannot one-side this conflict. Russia versus Ukraine, which you and I have talked about for a very long time, Chris, it's very easy to understand. The Ukrainians did nothing wrong. The Russians invaded. They committed war crimes. This is different.
Yeah, this is different. No
Both
question.
sides at this point are actually complicit in what we're seeing on the ground. And the Americans are not where they need to be in global governance. It's a serious problem. We are supporting the Israeli people. We should not be supporting the Israeli prime minister.
All right, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, Ian. And I don't mean, and I know you'll say it the right way, I'm not saying Netanyahu and Hamas are the same kind of obstacle. One is a terror organization. One is a controversial head. But it is clear that he is not where the Israeli people have been on this issue. Now, of course, numbers are eroding right now because we're in a state of war, and October 7th was such an ugly reminder intentionally of the Holocaust. But do you believe you can't get to where you need to be if Netanyahu is at the helm?
Cannot. Hamas needs to be destroyed. There's no reason why anyone should expect that Israel should live next to a territory governed by an organization that demands their destruction, that refuses to recognize their right to existence. I completely accept that demand. But Netanyahu is a criminal, and he has undermined Israeli security. Israel has a right to defend itself. So do the Palestinians. Netanyahu is the reason why the Israelis have not defended themselves adequately against Hamas. The vast majority of the Israeli population understands that, and the Biden administration has not publicly called Netanyahu out. And I think it's absolutely essential that they do so.
He's been chirping, I don't like their tactics, but he always says Israel. He never isolates it to Netanyahu. Now, look, you and I could debate this for a long time. I don't know how you get rid of Hamas, to be honest, because they're as much of an idea as they are an entity. And we learned that the hard way, and you and I lived it in real time when it came to us fighting terror. You can get rid of Netanyahu, and in fact, it looked like it was going that way because they were had a parallel of what's going on here in terms of attacks on the institutions of justice through political instruments that they were dealing with in Israel at Netanyahu's behest. But I don't see them calling for elections. Why isn't Israel making a move on him?
Look, there is a reality that the Israeli people are psychologically traumatized by what happened on October 7th, by how much of their population has been affected by the war, which they are fighting, and which their population is affected by far more than the Americans were by Afghanistan and Iraq, by the hostages, by the civilian killing. So it's not as if Netanyahu is the only person that supports this war, but the President Biden needs to say that Netanyahu is responsible for the fact that they have failed to secure their borders. He needs to say that publicly, not just privately.
I get why it's tricky for him, though, because he's already got trouble with his left flank, right?
Yes, he does.
The left flank is largely the kind of cauldron of a lot of the ugliness that we've seen in this country. You know, the right has its own problems, but they are not the ones fomenting from the river to the sea. An intifada, which only in America do people believe can mean a good thing as opposed to a violent thing. So he's got a tricky thing about how to go after Bibi without seeming that he's anti-Israel.
I take that, Chris, but he goes after Trump without feeling like he's being anti-American. I mean, he says that Trump committed an insurrection. He says that
No,
he refuses to accept. I mean, the fact is that there is absolutely nothing that Netanyahu represents for the Israeli people that Trump doesn't for the United States.
I hear you, but I don't think that's the analogy. I think going after Trump, that's his own country. He can do whatever he wants. And Trump, has asked for it. Netanyahu, it will read to some people like you're being anti-Israel. Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.